My story is about more inherent problems that have been exposed within Los Angeles's social equity programming following the release of a scathing report by an LA watchdog agency. So according to Green Market Report's John Schroyer, a civil grand jury reported that some licensed Los Angeles dispensaries are so desperate for revenue that they've begun breaking the law by selling legal products to unlicensed competitors. Right, so the new watchdog report was released late June, putting the Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation and its oversight of the Cannabis Social Equity Program in the hot seat, concluding that the agency is, quote, doing an inadequate job assisting those the program was intended to help. Schroyer said that the report, which was issued by an investigative committee with the Los Angeles County Civil Grand Jury, found that county governments are exacting more and more fees from the owners and operators of cannabis businesses, making it hard for the legal operators to stay open and stay viable. The findings are a result of a 5-member group's labor between July 2023 and June of this year, in which the committee visited more than 60 business locations, interviewed more than 80 industry participants, and spoke at length with four social equity operators in Los Angeles proper. And a 22-page summary of the investigation was included in the civil grand jury's final 510-page report from the past year, concluding Los Angeles social equity's problems are multifaceted and are not limited to flaws within the severely understaffed and underfunded DCR. Per the report's text, the committee found several glaring areas of concern, and the DCR appears not to be helping applicants navigate the myriad of rules to follow in order to receive a license. The committee said that LA's social equity licenses faced a series of systemic barriers, leading many to simply abandon their permits instead of pursuing the promise of getting in on the ground floor of California's industry. 5 major barriers highlighted in the report include long delays, often years, between when an applicant wins a license and when they're approved to begin actual business operations, high state and local business fees and tax rates, the risks of engaging with predatory business partners, right? Due to excessive red tape and fees, failure by the DCR to communicate effectively to applicants about the fees, resources available, including technical assistance and legal assistance. Complex legal issues are hard to navigate without professional help, and due to the program still in flux, and the DCR is struggling to keep up in creating equitable rules and regulations with the ever-changing circumstances encountered by social equity applicants, the report asserted. Schroyer says that the spokesperson for the DCR declined to comment further on the report, but said that the agency will respond in writing by August 27th, which is required under state law. However, a source familiar with both the report and Los Angeles licensing rollout said a grand jury report contained multiple factual errors, and the committee did not consult with the DCR on several points made by social equity sources who were interviewed. The result, the source said, was a one-sided and flawed assessment by the civil grand jury instead of a fair and complete picture of the agency's work on social equity. Schroyer says that the report can still be taken as a reflection of frustration by those on the ground in Los Angeles's social equity program, some of whom previously told Green Market Report that they believe that the program has failed due to how few licenses have managed to open for a business. The financial burdens cited by the new report include both city and state taxes, including a 4% city gross sales tax, a 15% state excise tax, and 10% more to the city for every $1,000 in sales, in addition to business fees enacted by the DCR and other LA city agencies, ultimately dubbing California's entire cannabis taxation system and rates excessive and exorbitant. Those fees add up to an estimated total of $131,000, which includes a roughly $16,000 bill for environmental impact report, $7,000 for annual license application, and dozens of other fees. This is all before the costs of licenses to obtain retail sites and or manufacturing facilities to operate, all before 1 gram of cannabis can be sold by the dispensary store owner, end quote. These mounting fees assessments can create a cottage industry for illegal and unregulated stores to open. The committee found that the Financial toll is so hefty that some legal licensed social equity businesses have allegedly begun breaking the law just to keep their doors open. The committee members have been told by a number of social equity business owners that in order to keep up with DCR payments, some licensed dispensaries have resorted to selling legal cannabis to illegal dispensaries and buying unlicensed product from illegal cultivators and distributors in order to escape some of the 4% gross sales tax and the 15% excise tax. According to every license holder interviewed, including those who lost their licenses by not being able to keep up with taxes and fees, and those who are still operating a retail facility, these taxes are a great contributor to their failure and still pose serious threats to them. The report concluded by offering a number of policy recommendations to the City Council and DCR, including increasing technical support and educational opportunities for the city for social equity applicants, update the license review system to notify permit applicants when there are delays in the process, offer more monetary assistance, you think, from the city to social equity businesses so they don't have to turn into bad actors. Improve the training for DCR staff in order to better assist applicants in navigating the overall permitting process. Change the city cannabis business fee structure to a comparable non-cannabis business system in the spirit of financial fairness. So, believe it or not, I cut out a whole lot of details from this one in respect for time, but Schroyer did an excellent job and thorough a job of outlining the report and its findings, which can be found on our website, high9news.com, as well as links to the original story. I got to tip my hat to the grand jury committee and Schroyer for going deep on this one. To me, it is simple. The city of Los Angeles, the DCR, the city council gave social equity applicants a bad deal from the jump. Since 2018, the agencies continue to fail on following through on promises made, refined, made again and again. As much as I want to be optimistic, I just don't see things getting better here anytime soon. My heart definitely goes out to all those involved, especially the operators who've managed to stay open against the seemingly insurmountable odds stacked against them. For all the good folks considering implementing social equity into other markets or participating in these programs, please read this report and learn from what LA got wrong. We were sold generational wealth and given 8 years of systemic pain. Don't make the same mistake. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Talk about socialist equity, bro.
I do not look amused.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, go for it. Go for it, Jenny.
Okay.
I know you're waiting to pop off.
I'm going to take a smooth, deep fucking breath before I start this, because you know that this is like very, very, very near and dear to my heart, and I worked with many of these applicants for fucking free because the city had a technical assistance program that was paused when a lot of my applicants were going through life or death situations with their businesses. I was later terminated for helping them, by the way, for free during that time. So this pisses me off. I brought things personally to the DCR's attention. Like, they know what's going on. They have a duty of care to these applicants, and there is no focus on that. There are a couple of people, I will shout out to them. They know who they are. I'm not going to say their names so they don't get picked upon, but they actually do care, and they've done a great job for the applicants. But by and large, you get analysts that don't respond. You get analysts being outright disrespectful to some of these people when they're just trying to pay their fees. You get promises of fee waivers, right? There was a situation where there were fee waivers, there's these resources that were allocated, and then, all of a sudden, we're only giving those to the winners of the last lottery, which is bullshit, because the first two lottery winners did not have the technical assistance program. They did not have these fee waivers. They didn't have any of the things to make them successful. So I think that it's very, very, very interesting that you guys choose to posture right now and set aside fee waivers for certain rounds of applicants, because that's not equity. You have funds available, you give them to everyone who is qualified for those fucking funds, or you give them to no one. That is cherry picking, and that's trying to make it look like your program is all of a sudden a success. Maybe because it's under investigation. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut for right now, just because I'm going to go a little too far with this, and I don't want to do that because I'm a nice girl, but
she's going to drive off the ledge, you guys.
The people who they had giving a lot of this education are not qualified. You're not fucking operators. How are you going to tell people how to operate something? You're not operating. I don't care if you've operated 215. You haven't operated a licensed company, so how the fuck are you supposed to tell these people to? The quality of the education should not be based on nepotism and based on getting your friends paid. And I'm so sick of seeing this happen. I'm sick of seeing what's happening in LA LA. It's not just LA County. It's not just our LA City DCR. It's a lot of social equity agencies. And you guys are getting this absolutely wrong. At the end of the day, you're fucking liable. I've seen a lot of ass covering from these agencies trying to make sure that they're not suit worthy. You are. Because you do have a duty of care. And yes, there's a process. It's called a government claim before a right to sue. But I guess we'll see you there. So,
and then we have, I'm not going to name names either. I have named names. Like I said, scroll far enough on my Instagram, you'll see some people I have named out, called out. And I have receipts too. But as both of you guys remember, back in 2016, 2017, when we were promised this, we were promised that, it just devolved into chaos. And what's sadder to me is seeing some of these bad actors who have been fleshed out over time going into other markets and consulting for the other markets to do the same exact thing.
100%.
And it is, sorry, Jason, but to the melanated ones of us, it hurts even more to see it come from our people.
Yeah.
It does. So it's not just
people that look like Jason.
Them. It is. It is not just people that don't look like us, man. So
they not like us. Yeah, they not like us.
My big.
Wow.
They're not like us.
A falsetto on it.
They're taking that too. It's time for new songs. But seriously, I'm not a big believer in quote unquote advice. Like, your life's journey has been different than mine. How you handle your situations is always gonna be different than mine. But I will always let people and share my experiences of what happened to me and with some of these people. Ask folks who have dealt with these people before, not just one or two people. There's plenty of people who have dealt with these bad actors. Make sure you do your research and show up to the negotiation table ready to do business. Whoever's on the other side of the table is not your friend.
Right.
The DCR is not your friend.
Nope.
The city council and wherever you are is not your friend. Make sure you have your legal representation right, and make sure you know how to properly operate a business or have a proper business manager in place before you get into these predatory deals. And I'm not just talking about predatory lenders. I'm talking about these city councils. I'm talking about these organizations, from state to state, municipality to municipality. Like, they will screw you over too and leave you scratching your head thinking that you were in a position to win.
Yep.
So
no, 100%.
I have some not melanated perspective about these programs as a verified social equity applicant in San Francisco and Sonoma County, and also as the person whose CV and life story was used by Elevate Partners when they ran at the RFP in Mendocino so that they could facilitate this program. They also did, Elevate Partners was also in Los Angeles and a variety of other markets. In Mendocino County, they used my likeness. I stood up structure for training programs for cooperative business models for cannabis operators, and then Elevate Partners ghosted me and didn't pay me. Thank you, guys. Yes, that was y'all. And when I followed up with them, they said, well, the program was totally FUBAR. And I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with your promise to pay. In San Francisco used to be a pretty good program. They were pretty responsive. We've had about 5 rounds of grant funding in San Francisco. The problem with this money that's given by the state from GoBiz to these local municipalities is there's no due process when you onboard these funds from these programs. So the first round, I was successful in navigating it. The second round, I was successful in navigating it. I think the third round as well. The fourth round, I proposed to use those grant funds for categories that were previously approved, like the tax liability that a social equity operator takes on when they receive these grant funds because it's considered income. So if you take on that grant money, you pay taxes on all of it, state and federal. And if you make other money in your life, which most people do, it raises your tax bracket for all the money you make. And so when I would receive grant funds for the distribution business in San Francisco, I would pay the tax liability of those funds from the funds that they gave me so that I didn't have to worry about the IRS breathing down my neck. On round 4, they said to me, we're sorry, we will not accept your use of funds because you haven't incurred that tax liability because we haven't given you the money yet. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm taking on the money, paying the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board. That's good for y'all government system, holistically. Everybody wins that way. And they're like, yeah, but because you haven't cast a check, you haven't incurred the tax liability. And so you can't pay the tax liability on the check you're going to incur. Doesn't make any fucking sense, and is inconsistent with the way that they had administered the money before. So they haven't codified any of those processes through the previous rounds of grant funds, which means that when you think you know what the lay of the land is, you don't. They rejected that. The other thing they did is, because I had spent the money out of a business bank account that had the name of my business with the same EIN number as me, they said, oh, well, it wasn't out of a business that had it wasn't out of an account that had your name on it. I'm like, are you kidding? It's the same EIN number. What does that matter? EIN, Social Security, this money came from me to spend these funds, and I'm asking for reimbursement. So sorry, Mr. Kubrin. This last round of grant funding in San Francisco, I showed them disbursement of a fuck ton of money, and they rejected me, and their response was, we want to see receipts. I said, I showed you the cashier's checks and the invoices, and that has worked for 3 out of the 4 last grant rounds. They said, well, accounting wants to see the back of the checks. I said, there's no back of a check with the cashier's check. You don't get that sent in the mail. They said, well, accounting wants to see on your bank statement the cashier's check. I said, here's a bank statement from Bank of America, and as you can tell, there is no payee information where you've taken the cashier's check out of your account to make that payment. So they literally underwrit the program, asking for deliverables I could not provide, that it made no sense. And then they rejected all of it. And then they pointed to the language in the grant funding to say that in the fine print, we can reject your entire thing if any of it doesn't make any sense. I said, yeah, but in your grant funding, Article 16 says I'm not allowed to serve fucking soda because it's San Francisco. Is that going to be the reason why you didn't allow me to receive those grant fundings? No response, crickets. So I share this with you because part of the biggest problem when these counties or these cities take on the grant funds is there's no appeals process. If they make a decision, that's not articulated in the paperwork. There's no codification of the process from previous rounds of grant funding. Okay, I should expect that it will be the same last time. And what I've noticed that they're doing is they're moving the goalpost while you're playing the game, and they, I think, are increasingly concerned about the notion that there will be subsequent oversight or an audit by other bodies. This last round of grant funding in San Francisco, here in the last 60 days, I gave them a proposed use of funds that included only office equipment, electronics, audiovisual stuff, big screens for the office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They rejected it. And I did it preemptively because I had a feeling, and the hairs on the back of my neck were already standing up, that they were going to try to find a creative way that might include fucking me. And they rejected it. I said, why would you reject my use of funds? I gave you an itemized thing, all of them. They said, well, the accounting department didn't like it. I said, well, okay, why? They said, I'm sorry, we cannot give you an explanation unless you wait and provide a subsequent written request for an explanation. I'm like, I'm on a Zoom with you guys. You're lawyers. You work for the city. Theoretically, your job is to help these funds get to the pockets of the people who qualify, and you won't even give me an explanation. So, I appreciated this report because I see Schroyer trying to cover social equity. I didn't agree with the way he had depicted what happened with blunts and more, but I think he is providing a much more nuanced understanding in here. And what I think was also important about this report is that it said that one of the biggest issues for social equity applicants is the length of time it takes to get permits. And we've been saying that for a long time. If you got us sitting on the sidelines, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we love you, but we're like way over time.
Way over time.
So
that's all I got for today.
We got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.